Through a Scottish Prism, the programme that is unapologetically pro-Scottish independence and anti-Westminster rule. Everything we say here is viewed through a Scottish Prism. Brought to you by Barhead Boy.
The 90 minutes almost up. It's Mladenovic to take this corner for Serbia. Oh, it's in from Luka Jovic. Oh no for Scotland.
Your eyes are full of hesitation.
With another penalty shootout.
Sure makes me wonder.
McGinn squeezed the first
You know
one in
what
against
you're
Israel.
looking for.
He's been subbed, so to Christie, so to Dykes.
Baby,
But at least Lee Griffiths is there, even though the keeper got a touch on it.
I'm a sensation.
Alexander Mitrovic.
You try me once, you're back for more.
Oh,
yes sir, I can boogie, but I need a certain song. I can boogie, woogie, all day long. Yes sir, I can boogie. If you stay, you can't go wrong. I can boogie, woogie, woogie,
is over!
Scotland are going to the Euros!
Don't adjust your radio. Scotland are going to a major tournament.
Wanna know if I can dance? Yes, sir.
Scotland will be part of Euro 2020!
I could freaking
And the
Come on, eh? Yes!
But I'll give you one more chance. Yes, sir. I can boogie, but I need a certain song. I can boogie, boogie, woogie, all night long. Yes, sir. I can boogie if you stay.
Just for everything, you know. Oh, God.
Boogie, woogie, all night long.
Oh mate, unbelievable. Big Marsh, national hero. Lost for words, everybody's buzzing.
David Marshall, Christie shoots and it goes and hits a net. David Marshall, na 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 na. David Marshall,
14th of June 2021. Get it in the diary. Scotland are back.
Felt the love back home, and we felt how much they could give everyone in a really tough time a lift, and I hope everyone parties at home tonight.
gives us a night we will never forget. David Marshall.
Brilliant. Bring on the Euros, boys. Well done to everybody. Magic. As you can hear, I am buzzing.
I wanted to get Scotland back to where it was, and now we've done it. So we have to do well in the Euros now.
Saved! Scotland are going to the Euros! Unbelievable!
Hello folks, welcome. I hope you enjoyed the video. It gives me goosebumps every time I look at it. It's got me right in the mood for the Euros starting here. And just a few days' time, well, actual Euros start today. But Scotland's not out till Monday. But I'm really looking forward to it. And that's what we're going to talk about now. Through a Scottish Prism is probably better known for its political content. But Scottish football is very important to the psyche of Scotland. And is very political. But like our politics and every aspect of life, we don't get well served by our broadcasters or our media from the front page to the back page. And we want to rectify that a wee bit by having a very pro-Scottish discussion on the Euros and Scottish football in general. And to do that, I'm joined by two of my buddies. One from up there north in Aberdeen. I'm joined by Jimmy Ross, a fellow foot soldier in the Tartan Army and an Aberdeen fan, and by Rab in Falkirk, another private in the Tartan Army, and a Stenhousemuir season ticket holder, no less. I was going to get a boy from Partick Thistle, but unfortunately the entire support, both of them, are down at a book fair in Harrogate today, so we couldn't get them. But I am joined by my friends. Rab, how are you, my friend? How's the Stenhousemuir man?
Very well. I'm going to correct you straight off the bat for one of your automatic errors that everybody makes.
What's that?
Stenhousemuir fan, yes. Falkirk man, no.
Did I say Falkirk?
Just outside Glasgow.
Did I say Falkirk?
You did.
I beg your pardon.
You did.
I don't know how I could have said Falkirk. You're a Stenhousemuir man. That is appalling. Broderick, slap my hands. I apologise, young man.
If you said that to me in the wee bar at Stenhousemuir, I might have had to take you outside.
Well, give me a good... well, of course, it's more famous for its Highland toffee, was it not, for a long while?
It was. McGowan's was right next to the ground. Yeah,
I used to love it. As they call it in Aberdeen, Jimmy, coo candy.
That's right.
I remember that.
McGowan's or McCowan's, was it?
McGowan's, aye.
McGowan's, aye. Penny Dainties.
Yeah.
That's what you
What happened to that? Is it still on the go?
No, the factory shut a number of years ago, and it was knocked down about 3 years ago. And there's a what do you call those Canadian donut shops? There's one of them sitting there.
Dunkin' Donuts or something.
No.
But they used to do the penny dainty as well. How could they do away with the penny dainty?
It's all been taken up. The production of it was bought over by other companies, I think, and they still make them, but it's not McGowan's that do it anymore.
Doesn't taste as good about you.
No, I've not tried chewing one for a long time.
But anyway, gentlemen, we're here to talk about the Euros and Scottish football in general. Because as I said, as you heard at my intro, I don't think we get good coverage by the mainstream media of anything in Scotland. And this is no different, and especially considering who we're in the tournament with. But football's overpriced and overrated in our neighbouring country. Don't you agree?
Of course it is.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, how much is it now for a Sky Sports subscription?
I can't figure what.
I
40s.
I think it may be 35, 40 quid, I think it is for the Sky Sports.
I'm sure it's 40 something.
A month.
And even more if you go for... Yeah, well, depends if you go for high definition channels and things like that. They make it more expensive for wee specialities like that. It's not cheap.
Yeah, and it's not very good fare. Certainly, I don't think it's worth the money. 40 quid a month? No, thank you. No, thank you.
It's certainly not worth it.
No, but the football is not of great quality either. I don't. It's most overrated. It's certainly the richest league in the world, but I think it's overrated.
I hate to go on an automatic downer. You can sound straight off the bat like your classic whiny Scottish supporter about England. You know, anybody but England. But it's definitely not coming from that. Watching the games, very few and far between. I find a game exciting or interesting. They do exist. You get great games, especially cup games. They're wonderful, some of them. But the vast majority of the games you see churning through Sky Sports week in, week out, they're not brilliant. Not brilliant at all. Certainly not the best league in the world. Brilliant.
No, I find actually some of the championship games in England are far better than English Premier games.
I would agree with you there.
Yeah, it's a very competitive league, very difficult to get out of. As well, it's a more competitive and I enjoy it. So it's not just an anti-English rant. I do seriously think it's overrated. Absolutely overrated.
I do. I mean, I enjoy the FA Cup games. See when you see some wee club from nowhere and that they come up against Arsenal or something. You get some great games in that. But the general games, Arsenal v Chelsea or Man City v Liverpool, 9 times out of 10, I would give it a body swear. To be honest.
And when you get to West Brom versus Southampton. Where's that pay? I want to go and watch it dry.
My own personal thought is it's not any better than Scottish football.
No, it's not. But it's sold better. It's marketed better. But it's the old thing. Now, here I go. Here's my politics coming in, lads. Because nothing can be seen to be the equal of or better than the English offering, be that football, rugby, drama, news, politics, health, anything. It can't be better. You've got to be inferior.
I don't think you can blame them for that. I think what you
I blame us for it.
You point the finger at us for
Absolutely,
for not doing exactly the same thing.
Yep. Because I'm going to doff my hat to the English FA, who, when they sold their product, because they just come out of their big ban, they just got back into Europe. It wasn't going well, and they managed to get a hell of a deal on the television rights for their football. And they talked about the FA Cup, the oldest tournament in the world, but it's not. The Scottish FA Cup is the oldest tournament in the world. When have you ever heard any of our lots saying that? And I remember, the other thing I was going to say, I remember, when Celtic got to Seville for the final, all the journalists, this is a fluke, we should never be there. Oh, the Celtic were the last club in Scotland to ever get there. Oh, how did they manage it? This could be embarrassing. And then 5 years later, Rangers got to the final in Manchester. Oh, this is definitely the last time. It wasn't that long ago. Aberdeen, Jimmy, I don't need to remind you, beat Real Madrid in the final of the Cup Winners' Cup. But we talk
and beat quite a few other good teams on the way.
Remembering.
Yeah, the problem is we talk ourselves down, whereas they talk themselves up.
The Dundee United.
Dundee United, they beat Barcelona in Barcelona.
They made the final of the UEFA Cup, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They beat Barca in the semis or the quarters. I can't remember. So I'm sure some Arab will let us know quick enough for getting it wrong. And they played Gothenburg in the final, or they played Gothenburg in the final and got beaten. The Fairs Cup or the Cup Winners' Cup. I can't remember which one it was. In the UEFA Cup. Well, I'm in trouble now. I'm in trouble.
So I have to get my order in here. We've got two European trophies here in Aberdeen.
Yeah. Okay. What was the second one?
Cup Winners' Cup and the what do they call it? The Super Cup.
Super Cup. I mean that exactly. But we don't talk these things up. That's my point. If we had better sales and marketing people, we should be going out around the world selling our game and bringing that money in to our game to make our game better. But it's like everything. Our best, who we educate better, go to jobs south of the border because that's where the best jobs and the best money are. And it's the same with our footballers.
Roddy, this has been happening for 2 centuries.
Yes, it has.
You know, you just take the name of their football association. It's not the English Football Association.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
It's the Football Association. You know, the Rugby Union.
Yeah.
You know, they've been experts at blinking marketing since, and to be quite honest, demeaning their neighbours since a couple of centuries.
Yeah. It'll come as no surprise to you, chaps, that England are favourites to win this. Did you know that?
We are.
Shocker, really. Same as their favourite of everything. Same as they were the favourites in the Six Nations at rugby. How did that go?
Poor Sven got one of their ex-Randy managers. I seen him in the telly a couple of nights ago, and he was getting glares because he reckoned that they were a good bet for the semi-finals.
Yeah, you can't say that.
Can I do your classic Scottish supporter thing here whenever I speak about England, to an extent? The thing about England, I like the current England manager is a nice guy. Most of the players come across as nice guys. Some of them are absolutely wonderful players. You could argue whether some of them are world class, whether they aren't. That's entirely opinion. The thing is, they should be able to do well in tournaments. And even as the next door neighbour who's had an absolute spanking off them time and again, politically, not football-wise, you would be going, go on, do well. But it always comes back to the same old cliche. It's always the commentary. It's the pundits. It's the, as you just said, good bet for the semi-final, probably the final, and probably going to win it. Every single time. It shows some humility. It's just, they go straight for the jugular every single time, and they end up, they wonder why people go, I hope Croatia do you.
I'm sure it was a Germany-France game that was on one of the tournaments. I don't know if it was World Cup or European Championships, but they were playing. It was what a game it was too. And it got to half-time. Boom. They're away to the England camp, and here's a picture of Wayne. Wayne had cornflakes this morning for his breakfast, and he's looking good. He's looking so fit. You go, wait a minute, can we get back to the gym? Germany and France. England aren't playing for another week. Could we please get back? It is nauseating.
You can hear you'll hear that. Rab made a very good point there. Gareth Southgate is obviously a really decent fella.
Yeah.
They've got a hell of a lot of decent, good players who are decent human beings. Their media comes along and have people, Scots, Welsh, Irish, every other nation in the world, hoping they come to grief in their very first game. You know?
Because they go for reflected glory. That's what it is. You see, they can't invade countries anymore and take them over. So it's all in the sporting field. And I mean, I just want to show you a classic example of what I mean. Techie, can you stick up the one of the English British or British English gymnasts? This is from the BBC. I've got a wee picture here. Now, if you go up here, you see Britain wins tumbling double trampoline silver medal. Well done. So they won the Brits won a silver medal. Now can we have the one of the Scottish curling team? And there you go. Scotland's women's defeated in a final. And it's just that subtlety with language and how it's done. I mean, as you know, Andy Murray is British until he loses. Soon as he loses, it was like Eric Cantona was always English.
We become so used to it, though. We're so used to it. You're inured to it, really. Because you expect it.
I must admit, I still get a wee upset. But they asked Alec Ferguson at one point to be the manager of England, and he said, only if I can let them get beaten every week. They didn't understand, and they were sort of, why wouldn't you want to be manager of England? Why? Because I could never go home again. I couldn't go back to Glasgow. They just don't get it. They don't get it.
And they also they've got no sense of humour about it as well. I was looking on Twitter the other day and I came across something. It was I think it was Tennant's Bar in Byres Road. And they've got about 9 windows facing onto the street, obviously. And they've got 9 flags there. And I think 2 of them are saltires and the rest are just flags of other nations. But this guy decided on Twitter that he was going to get incredibly upset because one of the flags wasn't an England flag. And when it was pointed out to him that there were like 15 other flags that weren't there, that didn't compute well. Because the arrogance was there that there has to be an England flag. Because
it's all about everything. Everything is about them. Everything.
I'll give you a striking example of that, Rab. The last European Championship, there was a shop in George Street here selling Abe T-shirts, you know? And of course, they were selling a lot of them. One of the local constabulary decided that it was offensive and complained about it.
Oh dear.
And it was all over the newspapers, to the extent the shopkeeper didn't want the hassle of leaving them in the windows. Still sold plenty of them, but childishness beyond a joke. You know.
It is, and I don't want to get down the road of being sounded even slightly bitter because I'm not. But it gets to that point where you can make any joke you like about the jocks, especially if we. I mean, it'd be great for certain comment. If we manage to go to these Euros and get bumped out at the first opportunity, there will be snidey comments. There will be wee sleek grins, and you expect it. You've come to expect it. But God forbid you do it the other way around with a bit of sense of humour. God forbid.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, they can't realise that it's football rivalry. You know, I would quite happily wear a T-shirt taking a shot at Rangers or Celtic. You know.
Well, I do like it. Yeah, well, me too.
You know, I think I've actually had one. I took a shot at Rangers at one point. But, it's total crack football rivalry. There's no threat about it at all.
I hate the whole anti-English, we hate the English meme. I loathe it. I find it quite funny. And whenever you get into a football discussion and you get into anything about Scotland v England, and then you get swung round to the, well, you're really English to think that way. It's like, well, yeah, I do. That's why I married one. I'm an absolute Anglophile. I mean, I like a hell of a lot of things. Most of my heroes are English. I like a hell of a lot of stuff about England, but when it comes to football, I just want to see them pumped.
It's a rivalry.
And rugby. I'm going to say rugby too.
Especially at rugby.
No.
Especially at rugby.
No.
I think at rugby, they're even more arrogant. When it comes
it's the 5 nations against England. It's not a 6 nations tournament.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we can't blame the English because It's the same in our politics. You know, blame the English. We put these things on ourselves.
Exactly. That's the point I'm making. We should be selling our game better. We should be demanding more money for our game. We should be promoting our game better and stop saying, "Oh no, we're not that good. You know, it was fluky." When we win a game, it's well, they're not very good, are they? So we beat them, but they're not very good.
Here's figures for you as far as that's concerned, Roddy. Last year, the BBC paid English football £43 million for coverage of games. Now, it's very difficult to work out how much they've paid Scotland for games. But the estimate is roughly £1 million. Now, how can they justify paying 43 times the amount of money? You know, it is, as Rob said earlier on, it's council TV. No, it's the licence payers' money.
Well, let me tell you a wee story. A friend of mine, who's a judge now, actually, a sheriff, he studied law at Glasgow University, and he was the captain of the first 11. And I'm going back to the days of Baxter and Law and Johnson and that era. And he was the captain. And for those that don't know, that the Glasgow University were founder members of the SFA. And to this day, well, till then, certainly, I don't know about now, but certainly till the very recent past, at least, if not now, the captain of the first 11 travels with the SFA Blazers to Scottish internationals. And he went down to Wembley when Scotland were playing down there. Well, the players were on the train from Glasgow Central to Euston. He was on a BEA flight, or British Airways flight, whatever, with the Blazers, and he handed an envelope as well. And he was staying, I can't remember, the Cafe Royal or somewhere near there. They were staying in a real fancy hotel, and the players were in, this was Baxter, Law, Johnson, Billy McNeil. These guys. Love happened with Dave Mackay and all these ones as well. Well, these Blazers, the guy from Brechin and no harm to Brechin or Forfar Athletic, the Blazers were travelling first class. It's just wrong. It's just that's the problem. It needs to be
for you.
Well, they're a bit better. They've got Blazers as well, but they've got some businessmen in there who know how to make money. Here we go. I've got a techie. I don't know if you've got this. I didn't mention it to you earlier, but the one about percentages of population that watch football. If you can find that one, I'll know very quickly if you can. If it doesn't come up in the next couple of seconds.
Are we not the highest?
We are the highest. More people in Scotland. Yep, more people in Scotland watch football than any other nation in the world. Per head of population, it's something like 0.21. Yep, 0.21.
That's definite. Are you sure it's the world? I know in Europe,
or certainly Europe. Let's say Europe. 0.21. Yeah. Well, no, I think I saw this thing at the UAE in it as well. But let's just say Europe. But 0.21 of the population of Scotland are at a game on a Saturday, a week Sunday. And if you take it in England, it's 0.07. 0.07 to 0.21. So it's quite a substantial difference. So it's very important to the psyche. So this tournament, as I say, is going to be really important. I mean, you saw it in the video at the start, everyone going mental. I know I did. When David Marshall made that brilliant save, I thought I was going to have a heart attack or a stroke. I really did. I took off. A madman.
You're not the only one.
It brings out emotions. So, can we see our fixtures, Techie? Here we go. Here's our fixtures, lads. Oh, I can hardly see that. But our first game there, of course, is on Monday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we play the Czech Republic before the big game on Friday against England down at Wembley. And they play, of course, England play Croatia on Sunday. So by Monday, it could be quite interesting. Rab, do you fancy our chances against the Czechs?
Against the Czechs, yes. I think I've got more And if you talk to me even a year and a half ago about this same thing, I would have given my standard response that I've given to my sons for about the past 15 to 20 years. That I don't know why you're doing this to yourself, because you're just going to get disappointed. This is the first time in 20 years that I can remember being optimistic about a group of players who actually look like they can play football, and they don't look like they want to get rid of it at the earliest opportunity in any direction. I am confident that these guys, if their confidence is where it should be, and I think it is, I think we could do a fair bit of damage in this tournament. I'm not going to get carried away and do a 1978. We've been there.
Controversial.
We've been there, but I think we could do pretty well. We'll give a good account of ourselves because it's a good group of players and he's got them playing well.
What about you, Jimmy? Are you confident as Rab?
I'm pretty confident against the Czech Republic. I think our manager has made a big difference, you know, to the whole setup, to the whole team. You know, he seems to be kind of feet firmly attached to the ground. And I don't think he's going to let the players get carried away with themselves. I think we're good enough to beat the Czech Republic. I think the game that's going to count is the Croatia-England game, because I think Croatia is good enough to beat England.
Rated number 2 in the world not so long ago.
And if Croatia beats England and we beat the Czech Republic, then I'll start getting really confident. You know,
I can see me getting really pissed.
Well, I'll get that as well.
The caveat you've got to put on this is it's Scotland. I hate to say things. I hate to be the devil's advocate here, but I want to say things like Costa Rica.
But see, that's
what worries me.
That's 40.
That's what worries me. But well, I was going to add to that though. If you look at Kilmarnock, who have been relegated, and if you look where Stevie Clark got them and then took them, they were toying with relegation when he came in and took over Kilmarnock, and he turned them in firstly to be a difficult team to beat, and then he played to the strength of his players because he didn't have the money of the Rangers or the Celtic or even the Aberdeen or Hearts or Hibs to go out there and buy players quality. He had to work with what he had. And I mean, they get into Europe. Was it they were 5th? Was it when he got them up to 5th? Was it or 4th? I can't remember. 4th or 5th?
Yeah, they were in Europe.
Yeah, they get into Europe, and then but then they get. As soon as he left, they played that team from Wales in their first game, an amateur team, and get pumped. So he's definitely not a fluke. He knows how to set up a team. He knows how to organise. And since he's come in, I'm with you, Rob. I think they play some good stuff. And when they played Holland,
I think you need to give some credit to. I mean, Stevie, I like him. I think he's a very capable manager, and I think he's good with the guys. You get that. You can't tell unless you're in a dressing room. But I've spoken to enough players and enough managers to get a gist. I think the players like him, and I think they like the way he approaches things. Could be wrong, but that's how it seems. But you've got to give credit to the players as well, because I think we've got a pool of talent there that we've not had in a long time.
Oh, for sure.
You know, there's players that can walk into sides in a lot of teams in Europe, and we've not been able to say that for a long, long time. I don't think. I mean, there's been a lot of Scottish talent, but it's never quite. It's been individual, one player here, one player there. But now we're starting to see 2, 3, 4 players that can walk into a lot of really good teams. And
you just got to look at the midfield. In the midfield, you've got a player from Man United, McTominay. We've got John McGinn, great player. I'm really excited about him for this tournament. John McGinn of Aston Villa. You know, we've got Andy Robertson of Liverpool. We've got Kieran Tierney, who I just thought the other night was just immense. Arguably one of the best defenders in England, as is Andy Robertson, although he's not a great season by his comparison, by his standards. But he's still, what a player. Some of the balls he was whipping in the other night and the way he was getting down that wing, just, fabulous. You've got the boy Cooper from Leeds United, a great player. You know, so we've got some really, as you say, talented players playing at the top end, top level. It is exciting. I'm excited. But I've got to come to controversy. We've got the goalies. We've got 3 goalies there. Dave Marshall has got. Kecky, can we have the Scotland team up? Or the pool of players. We get that. So here we've got I can see if you can see that. But we've got 3 keepers, and the 3 keepers are, of course, Marshall, Craig Gordon, great shot stopper, but I get nervous when the ball's at his feet. He's not so good with the feet. And John McLaughlin, he's not getting a game. I mean, he's only had about 10 games all season with the Rangers, so I can't see past Dave Marshall. Can you, Jimmy?
No, he's proved himself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to use players that have proved themselves in games. That's my attitude, and I think Steve Clark has kind of blended a team. You know, what I've seen against Holland, and it's been in other games too. They seem to have an understanding that we've not had for donkeys. You know, we tried various different ways of organising the defence, and half the time it was a disaster. He seems to get the best out of each player in their particular position, and I think Marshall is the perfect example of that. He brings out the best in Marshall. There's better goalkeepers on them than Marshall, but he brings out the best in them.
Well, he was one I was surprised that Celtic didn't go for last season when they didn't get Fraser Foster. I was very surprised they didn't go for him. I've got to say, as a Rangers man, I'm glad they didn't. He's a great keeper, so I think he's in. If you look at the defenders, that's where we suddenly, for the first time ever in a Scotland team, we've really got choices here. Now, I don't know about you, the centre. I think we can say without shadow of a doubt that your left centre back is going to be Tierney, and the left wing back is going to be Andy Robertson. I take it there's no dispute with those 2 choices. Am I right?
No, not from here.
No, now
you have to play both of them.
Yeah, but now you get into the where we can have a wee discussion. There's the other centre halves. Who do you choose as your other centre halves? From Declan Gallagher, who's now, of course, Aberdeen, Grant Hanley, Norwich, Jack Henry, the Ostend boy, Scott McKenna, or that's it. Yeah, what about one of them? Who goes in? Who's your other centre back?
I would probably play Hanley at the moment.
You're a Hanley man. What about you, Rob?
I wouldn't argue with that.
Yeah, I would.
I wouldn't argue with that.
Just a minute. I would put in Cooper. I like Cooper, the boy from Leeds, and the other centre back I would like to see is Jack Henry. I watched him against Holland, and apart from the goal, I just thought he looked solid as a rock. So, but we've got choices because McKenna's, you know, this is great, isn't it? As a Scotland team, we've got choices.
You can put McKenna in there. Okay, he doesn't seem to be doing that great at Nottingham Forest yet, but you can put McKenna in there, and he'll not let you down.
No, nor with Gallagher. I like Gallagher. I mean, he's never let us down either. So, yeah, I have my preferences. Definitely, I'd like to see in the boy from Leeds. But any of that permutations, I'm fairly relaxed. But now we get into one of the contentious. But sorry, on you go, Rob.
No, I was just going to ask. So it's Cooper for you then?
Huh? Liam Cooper.
It's Cooper for you.
Yeah, Liam Cooper. I like him. I think he's a good player. I think he's a really good player, and he's playing at a high level. We go back to talking about players in the Prem. You know, top of the Premiership. They were about 10th or 11th or something Leeds this year. So he's playing at the right end of the there. We then get into one of these decisions. Now here's the one: is it Nathan Patterson or Stephen O'Donnell you put in there? Because if you start with Stephen O'Donnell, never let us down. He's not a flair player. He's not a big name. He does a job. Defensively, he's very good. Not so great going forward. He's not got the pace. But against that, you've got a young lad who I think is fabulous, got pace, got a future. But do you go for experience over youth, or does this boy give us more?
I would. Nathan Patterson, I haven't seen an awful lot of. O'Donnell, I've seen a wee bit.
Oh.
I would say that's a difficult one.
Yeah, well, it is.
I would say, I'll be quite honest with you, I don't know there, Roddy. I think Steve Clark will go with O'Donnell. Definitely in the first game.
Yeah, O'Donnell's his player from Kilmarnock days. I would go with Nathan Patterson. It's not because I have seen him quite a lot, but because he's got the pace, and he can whip in a ball. And if you've got him going up one wing and Robertson going up the other, that presents problems for whoever we're playing against.
But we can't afford to lose goals.
No, well, we can't. But that boy knows how to defend, and he played in a defence that didn't lose many goals. So it's a hard one, but it gets even harder, lads, because we're now into the midfield. Yeah, we have got the best midfield we've had in years.
Well, McGinn's a shoe-in.
You would think. He's our top goal scorer. You would think. I mean, I can't see past McGinn. I think he's something else. But it depends, I suppose, what formation we're going to play. If you're going to play a diamond or if you're just going to play across the middle, I don't know how he's going to do it. What do you have? Who's your first pick on the midfielders?
I think McGinn, yeah.
Yeah.
I would definitely put McGinn in there. Callum McGregor, for me, I like Callum McGregor most of the time, but I watched him the other night, and I don't know what it was about him, but he was just giving the ball away right, left and centre. And that was like harking back to old Scotland, where we just gave the ball away under any kind of pressure at all.
That's a good point.
I don't know what was wrong with him.
Well, he's not a great season, and he doesn't seem to be full of much confidence.
No.
But I take another shoe-in. We'll come back to him. But another shoe-in, I think, is McTominay.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Because he's your.
I would say so.
You get him in there. If you're going to play, it depends what formation he's going to put out. If he's going to go for it with two up front, you could play McGinn just behind the striker. It depends how he goes. But McTominay, and the young boy. Billy Gilmour. I mean, he was a revelation when he came on. It was.
Does he get again?
Here's what you do. I mean, I saw him. We're talking about the English Premier. I saw him bossing it against Liverpool.
He's got all the confidence in the world. I don't think he would struggle.
No, he didn't struggle against Liverpool. He bossed that game for Chelsea. He absolutely bossed it. The boys got it, and when he got the ball, and he was busting into and good pass men. You know. Again, it's this. Does he go for experience and over this boy? But when you've got a player like that, how can you keep him out? Now, I don't want anyone writing in. It's not Messi, but if they're good enough, like Messi was playing for Argentina when he was 17, and all these really great players, and I think he's our first real world class player for decades. Probably going back to Dalglish. I can't think of any other world-class player since then.
I've never had a problem at lower division level, right up to international level. I have never had a problem with playing young players, so long as because if you're going to give them a game, they've got the skill level. That goes without saying.
Mm-hmm.
But if they've got the confidence, then I think I really don't. It's a cliche. I don't think the age matters in the slightest, and I don't think that boys get any shortage of confidence at all. No, that's why Stevie Clark gets the money and we don't.
But my attitude is, what a terrible problem to have.
That's a good
That's awful,
we haven't even mentioned yet Stuart Armstrong.
No.
There's another great player. When he came on against Holland and he was going down the left side of the pitch, going past players as if they weren't there. Stuart Armstrong's a great player too, and good with a dead ball.
How many times in the past have players had to be played out of position, mucked about, because there was a job filling the team sheet?
Yeah, well, that's why going back to the fullback, I'm for Nathan Patterson. Because if you've got Patterson one wing and you've got Andy Robertson the other, you've got pace and power and everything. That's what I'm for. But again, you've got, as I say, you've got David Turnbull as well. That boy, he was Celtic's best player this year.
He's got.
Do you know what I mean? And he's very confident in the ball.
He's got a choice of players for a choice of games. You know, he can switch tactics. He can do things now that Scotland managers haven't been able to do for 20 odd years. He's got choices. And he's got different types of players for different situations.
That's
great.
That's a really good point there, Rob. We have the choices. We've got a manager who is capable of changing things in a game.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got players that are capable of changing things in a game. Something we've not had for years.
Yeah. I think when we're playing the Czech Republic, we can go with 2 up front. I don't know if we can at Wembley. I don't know if we need to go for 1 up and have an extra player in the midfield at Wembley.
See, is that me just doing a? I just instantly went no, don't put 2 men up front. Was that me just doing a soiling my trousers thing because it's England automatically there? Or
I think against England we can't afford to. You know, you could have McGinn playing off the striker, and you can flood the midfield against them because you're playing away from home. They are not. They're a not bad side on their day. Well, they're not playing well. They're not playing well just now. They're not. They're not at their potential, and they're full of injuries. So I don't know, but in this game, we're just talking about the Czech Republic. I think we go with 2 up front. And again, I'm in a dilemma here, guys. I don't know about you. Who would be your 2 up front, Rob?
I like Dyke a lot. I know some people don't. I do. I think he's got a lot about him. He's and I hate the word brave applied to football, but he'll win everything. He'll absolutely work. He's always there for you. And I think he can score. He absolutely can score. There's no doubt about it. So I would play him right off the bat, I think. Definitely.
And who would you play beside him?
I don't know. I really don't know. Ryan Fraser, Kevin Nisbet, I don't know. I really don't. This is where I'm useless at this kind of thing. I'm great.
Well, there's some great choices here.
I'll criticise it.
I know.
What about you, Jimmy? Would you play with 2 up front?
I'd play Dykes and Fraser.
Dyson and Fraser. The problem I've got with Fraser, I think Fraser's a great player and he's scored a lot of goals, but he's hardly played any football this season. And it showed with him and another player who I like, and this is from my friend JD in Barhead, who's a Celtic man, hates James Forrest, and I've always talked up James Forrest. I think James Forrest, and he's another one, and he's not let Scotland down. He looked so short of match practice, even in the last few games of the season with Celtic, and he did in these 2 Scotland games, he looked way off the pace, way off. But he's good for coming off the bench.
Some of the Celtic support have been giving him a lot of grief throughout.
I don't understand it.
Because I don't get it either.
I wish he was at the Rangers, to be honest. I really do. Take him, it's yours, have him.
Fancy Spenny, I can talk to somebody. Wouldn't be a problem.
But I tell you, Kevin Nisbet is another one. He knows the way to go. He's a sniffer. He's a poacher. He can see a chance. So do you play him with Lyndon Dykes? Because Lyndon Dykes can, as you say, he'll fight and snap and bite. But then again, you've got Che Adams. He wins it and he holds it up and gives us time to get up and support him. That's why I think definitely against England you go with Dykes, because he can hold it up while the midfield then come up to join him. But Che Adams is no slouch, playing at a high level with Southampton. What you were talking about earlier, Rob, we've got players playing in the top leagues and at the top end of it. So I think in this game he'll go for Che Adams and Dykes, and he'll bring on Nisbet later and possibly Fraser, depending on how the game's going. But that's my side.
Do you think? Yeah, I don't know. Do you think? I don't think so. But do you think Stevie Clarke's predictable that way? I sometimes never know what he's going to do if he won the game of the next. To be honest with you.
I don't think he is predictable, and that's what I personally think.
That's actually a compliment.
Yeah, I personally think you'll play you'll play a centre forward, and then you'll play Ryan Fraser or James Forrest alongside him. I don't think you'll play the 2 big centre forwards against the Czech Republic anyway.
I think because we're going to go for that one. I mean, we are, by intents and purposes of seeding, we're the Diddy team. But we're at home. We've got the crowd at our back. As you were saying, Rob, you've got to hope the confidence is there. I mean, was it now 16 games or 17 games undefeated? Something like that?
I don't think there's any shortage of confidence. I don't think you need to worry about that. They're not players they're not going to freeze on you. Because they've seen it. Most of them have seen it and done it. So I don't see that as being a problem.
Yeah, well,
and
I think
like each other as well.
Yeah, I think I like. There was a lot of good interplay between Dykes and Che Adams in the game. So I'm going to stick with them. That would be my two. But do you know what, guys? See, even with the ones that we've all sort of, even the positions we've disputed on, I don't have a problem with anyone in that pool. There's one thing I heard, and it's maybe worth saying, is that John Fleck, even with COVID, sorry about that, I don't see him getting in to the team. And someone said we would have been better taking along Griffiths if we were really hunting a goal.
I've got a really wee soft spot for Griffith.
It's those 2 free kicks against England will stay in my memory forever. So I've got that. So I would have liked him on the bench.
I want him at Aberdeen.
Well, you might end up with him there. But I would have liked him on the bench if you're needing a goal. Do the way Celtic were using him, because he's liable to give you one, but he's no there, and Fleck is. So we've kind of
a fair point there about him maybe going to Aberdeen. It's a wee shout. I know we're off a wee tangent there, but I think that's not out with it.
There's
a good chance.
There's a lot of rumour up here. He's got a personalised number plate that was seen at the training ground allegedly.
Okay, no, you hear that?
Oh, well, there you go.
Lionel Messi's been seen in Maryhill Road. I mean, that's the other thing. She talked about football. And because, just to go, there's something I meant to say earlier when we're just talking football. When I want to know about politics and you want to know about politics, you guys, I go to the favourites, our new media. I go to Twitter. I read blogs. That's how I get my information with politics. And when I want my football, I go to fanzines. I go to fans vlogs like this, vlogcasts like this. There's some really good ones out there. If you want to know what's going on, because the guys that are telling you about the football are guys who actually are doing it because they love their club. Just the same as we do our politics thing because we love our country and our politics. The guys who are writing for the Record or the Scotsman, whether it be in the front pages, the political pages, or the back pages at Sport, they're writing and forming opinions to please the guy who owns the paper. They're not really telling you what you want to hear or what the reality. It's about selling papers. So I'm the same with, if you want to know what's going on with clubs, go to their podcasts. Because it's citizen media, and that's what's the future, citizen media. Right, guys, now comes the moment of truth. We're going to have a wee forecast. Rab, what do you think the score's going to be at Hampden on Monday night? Or Monday afternoon, rather.
I'm a great one for cliches and sitting on the fence, as well, I'm going to go for us winning it 2-1. If we play the way I think we can play, we can even take 3 off. But I'm going for 2-1 as a nice, safe bet. I really don't see us getting beat. And I know that's... hang on. There's a big tap on wood. I know that's a classic Scottish thing to say, but as I said earlier on, I've got more confidence now than I've had in a great number of years. So I see a wee 2-1, I think.
You've stole my thunder.
You think the same score?
2-1. 2-1 or 1, I think, for Scotland. I don't think it'll be a big scoring game, but
no.
I don't want to win nothing because my heart wouldn't take it.
Oh, no. Scotland do that to you. I mean, you just got to look at the video we led in with, which was the Serbia game. We're 7 seconds away from qualifying. We're ready. Lose a goal. Don't give them it easy. I'm convinced that God is a Scottish football fan, and he does it to us on purpose, just to make us suffer, because we never do it easy. I mean, I remember going back to 1974 when we qualified for our first ever World Cup, and since 1950, whatever it was, and we were playing the Czechs. It was Czechoslovakia, who were a top side. They had got to the finals, I think, of the European Championships the year before, and we had to beat them at Hampden to go through, and it was nail biting.
I was at the game.
So not easy. I was going to do a Jock Stein. I remember many years ago, the great Jock Stein was on Scott Sport, and he was getting at it with Davy White, who was then manager of the Rangers, and he was asked to forecast the game, the upcoming Old Firm game. And Davy White went, I think the Rangers, we have confident we'll win 2-0. And I said, what do you think, Jock? He said, only a fool would try and forecast that game. And it's so as we're being fools forecasting this game, because it is Scotland, boys, it is Scotland. I'm going to go for a 2-0 because I'm confident with this keeper in defence that we can have a shutout, and I think these boys know to defend from the front back. So I'm going to go. If I get in first, I'd probably go for a 2-1 myself. But I'm going to go for a 2-0. Meanwhile,
that's bold.
I can be if I get off with it. I can be lads. I knew, and I was very confident. You know me, Rob. I can bullshit. I mean, I'm the bullshitter in chief. I know how to bullshit. Meanwhile, before that, there's a game on Saturday in our section where England play Croatia at home. Now, at the moment, England's a very unsettled side, and this is not me being a Scotland fan, but they're unsettled just now. They've got a lot of injuries. I see the boy Maguire. He's been out since when? March, and he's back in training today. Surely he's not in contention for Saturday. Surely not. Croatia, we're the second best team in the world. Played in the World Cup final, the last World Cup final, but they've gone off the boil a wee bit. How do we think that one will go? Have you any feelings on that one, Rob?
Again, a 2-1, and I think it'll be England. But I think they've got a very good manager in Gareth Southgate. I think they will up their game. And as you say, Croatia have not been what they were.
No.
But I can see them winning it, honestly. I can see them. They'll build themselves up in an early part of the competition, as they always do. So I can see them. I'm just going on the, what's happened in the past and the law of averages, and I see an England win, to be honest.
What about you, Jim? What do you think down in England at Wembley?
Well, I think the last time Croatia visited Wembley, they beat the English. If I'm correct.
I've just had a note from our techie saying, "Shoot the dogs, Roddy." They're not my dogs, or I would. Trust me, I hate these dogs. It barks all day long, drives me crazy. Sorry, you were saying,
I hate sitting in the fence.
You go.
I smell a draw on that one.
So
England's not what they were. Croatia seem to have been kind of spluttering of recent. Unless one of these two sides get their act, it really depends on who comes out of the blocks. But I quite fancy a draw there. Probably a scoring draw.
Yep, I'm the same. I've been thinking one each with that the whole way along. Now, if we're right, Scotland win and there's a draw down in Wembley, it's exciting times, lad. And I'll probably have to call you back in because we'll have to then discuss where we're going to celebrate the final.
Well, where was it last
we're playing in?
Look forward to a Scotland-England game.
Well,
really looking forward to it.
I am looking forward to it. I'm not scared in that game.
Neither am I.
At all. But we've got to get this game going first. I'm going to be watching tomorrow the first game, of course, which is Italy and Turkey. The Italians usually start off slowly and like a good Italian opera. They pick up and then hit a fat note when it's time for the fat lady to sing. They're very good tournament players. But Belgium have got to be. They've got to be second favourites behind England. And then France, the world champions, they've got to be joint second favourites behind England. I'll have to ask some English commentators. But, you've got some great sides in this tournament. Spain are on a wee bit back, but I don't see them winning it. I really don't. And I've got to say my neighbours who I've been talking to are not supremely confident. You've got the Germans. You can never discount the old Germans. They know how to play tournament football.
Well, their under-21 side looked wonderful, to be honest.
Yeah, well, they do. They just keep churning them out. They really do. And it's not, they're very disciplined. It's not, they're good. They're good at what they do. So I don't have an overall winner. Should I say, I don't know who we're going to play in the final. Well, just pretend you're English. Let's talk it up, lads. I don't know who we'll play in the final. It's easy to do it. That's what we should do. Yes, we'll play in the final.
But the last time I heard talk like that, I think I was 18.
Would that be around about 1978?
Around about then, yeah.
Yeah, Argentina. The other one, I think Belgium, of course, I think are the. There's something else. So I don't see it out at the moment. I can't see the winner. You have to see at least one game in each of them all to say, they look good. Have you got a favourite for the tournament, Jimmy? Is there anyone you fancy to see the winner beat in the final?
I think France. I think
good
France. Side. Because in some ways they're getting like the Germans. They'll get themselves organised. They've some
fabulous
spectacular players. Yeah. But saying that, Spain are not on fire at the moment, but they have players that can deliver.
Yeah. I mean, just look at France. If you look at France, Eduardo, he's in the under-21s. Imagine we had Eduardo. He made the first team, let's be honest.
And the Germans, there's no way, they've been kind of treading water, but there's absolutely no way they can be ruled out because how many tournaments have they gone into?
And Denmark, forgotten they've come on leaps and bounds. And they're a great side. So it's going to be an exciting tournament, guys. Are you going to be watching the first game tomorrow night?
Yeah.
Will do.
Oh, great stuff.
I'll be trying to watch most of the games.
I wouldn't argue with the France or Germany prediction.
You France or Germany, you think? Not fancy Belgium? Are they not in your calculation?
No, don't think so.
No.
I think France are really good side, and Germany are just Germany.
Yeah, exactly. Germany or Germany. The Dutch, what I saw the other night, I don't fancy their chances. Because they haven't qualified for the last two tournaments. This is their first tournament in a while.
I know it's a friendly, but we should have beaten them the other night.
Yeah, we did. They didn't look... Either we are a lot better than we even think, or Holland are not quite on tune at the moment. But, guys, I want to thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have.
I have, actually.
And if the viewers, if you guys have enjoyed it, let us know and we'll come back and do some more. Certainly as long as Scotland take the tournament. Yeah, well, you have to get your laptop next time. Get the laptop at the ready.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'll need to use the laptop the next time because I've had a sore neck with this tablet.
So, guys, thanks very much. Thank you very much. And to you for all watching and listening, I hope you've enjoyed this wee sort of diversion, my other passion, the footy. And we'll be back on Sunday with our normal programme where my guest is Craig Murray. And I look forward to seeing you then. Till then, please, all take care.
Cheers. Good night, folks.
Bye.
Through a Scottish Prism, the programme that is unapologetically pro-Scottish independence and anti-Westminster rule. Everything we say here is viewed through a Scottish prism. Brought to you by Barhead Boy.